herself. Puck went on with his story. It took a long time for me to get to understand their language. Now at last I know what they want. It isn't much, because they usually say the same thing every day. I can scarcely believe it, said Maya. Why, they have so many interests, and think so many things, and do so many things. Cassandra told me that they build cities so big that you can't fly round them in one day, towers as high as the nuptial flight of our queen, houses that float on the water, and houses that glide across the country on two narrow silver paths and go faster than birds. Wait a moment, said Puck energetically. Who is Cassandra? Who is she, if I may make so bold as to ask? Well? Oh, she was my teacher. Teacher, repeated Puck contemptuously. Probably also a bee. Who but a bee would overestimate human beings like that? Your Miss Cassandra, or whatever her name is, doesn't know her history. Those cities and towers and other human devices you speak of are none of them any good to us. Who would take such an impractical view of the world as you do? If you don't accept the premise that the earth is dominated by the flies, that the flies are the most widespread and most important race on earth, you'll scarcely get a real knowledge of the world. Puck took a few excited zigzag turns on the leaf and pulled at his head, to Maya's intense concern. However, the little bee had observed by this time that there wasn't much sense to be got out of his head anyway. Do you know how you can tell I am right? Asked Puck, rubbing his hands together as if to tie them in a knot. Count the number of people and the number of flies in a room. The result will surprise you. You may be right, but that's not the point. Do you think I was born this year? Puck demanded all of a sudden. I don't know. I passed through a winter, Puck announced, all pride. My experiences date back to the Ice Age. In a sense, they take me through the Ice Age. That's why I'm here. I'm here to recuperate. Whatever else you may be, you certainly are spunky, remarked Maya. I should say so, exclaimed Puck, and made an airy leap out into the sunshine. The flies are the boldest race in creation. We never run away unless it is better to run away, and then we always come back. Have you ever sat on a human being? No, said Maya, looking at the fly distrustfully out of the corner of her eye. She still didn't know quite what to make of him. No, I'm not interested in sitting on human beings. Ah, dear child, that's because you don't know what it is. If ever you had seen the fun I have with the man at home, you'd turn green with envy, I'll tell you. In my room there lives an elderly man who cherishes the color of his nose by means of a peculiar drink, which he keeps hidden in the corner cupboard. It has a sweet, intoxicating smell. When he goes to get it, he smiles, and his eyes grow small. He takes a little glass, and he looks up to the ceiling while he drinks, to see if I am there. I nod down to him, and he passes his hand over his forehead, nose, and mouth, to show me where I am to sit later. Then he blinks, and opens his mouth as wide as he can, and pulls down the shade to keep the afternoon sun from bothering us. Finally, he lays himself down on a something called a sofa, and in a short while begins to make dull snuffling sounds. I suppose he thinks the sounds are beautiful. We'll talk about them some other time. They are man's slumber song. For me, they are the sign that I am to come down. The first thing I do is to take my portion from the glass, which he left for me. There's something tremendously stimulating about a drop like that. I understand human beings. Then I fly over and take my place on the forehead of the sleeping man. The forehead lies between the nose and the hair and serves for thinking. You can tell it does from the long furrows that go from right to left. They must move whenever a man thinks if something worthwhile is to result from his thinking. The forehead also shows if human beings are annoyed. But then the folds run up and down, and a round cavity forms over the nose. As soon as I settle on his forehead and begin to run to and fro in the furrows, the man makes a snatch at the air with his hands. He thinks I'm somewhere in the air. That's because I'm sitting on his think furrows, and he can't work out so quickly where I really am. At last he does. He mutters and jabs at me. Now then, Miss Maya, or whatever your name is. Now then, you've got to have your wits about you. I see the hand coming, and I wait until the last moment. Then I fly nimbly to one side, sit down, and watch him feel to see if I am still there. We kept the game up often for a full half-hour. You have no idea what a lot of endurance the man has. Finally he jumps up and pours out a string of words which show how ungrateful he is. Well, what of it? A noble soul seeks no reward. I'm already up on the ceiling listening to his ungrateful outburst. I can't say I particularly like it, observed Maya. Isn't it rather useless? Do you expect me to erect a honeycomb on his nose? Exclaimed Puck. You have no sense of humor, dear girl. What do you do that's useful? Little Maya went red all over, but quickly collected herself to hide her embarrassment from Puck. The time is coming, she flashed, when I shall do something big and splendid and good and useful, too. But first I want to see what is going on in the world. Deep down in my heart, I feel that the time is coming. As Maya spoke, she felt a hot tide of hope and enthusiasm flood her being. Puck seemed not to realize how serious she was and how deeply stirred. He zigzagged about in his flurried way for a while, then asked, You don't happen to have any honey with you, do you, my dear? I'm so sorry, replied Maya. I'd gladly let you have some, especially after you've entertained me so pleasantly, but I really haven't got any with me. May I ask you one more question? Shoot, said Puck. I'll answer. I'll always answer. I'd like to know how I could get into the human being's house. Fly in, said Puck sagaciously. But how without running into danger? Wait until a window is opened, but be sure to find the way out again. Once you're inside, if you can't find the window, the best thing to do is to fly toward the light. You'll always find plenty of windows in every house. You need only notice where the sun shines through. Are you going already? Yes, replied Maya, holding out her hand. I have some things to attend to. Goodbye. I hope you quite recover from the effects of the ice age. And with her fine, confident buzz that yet sounded slightly anxious, little Maya raised her gleaming wings and flew out into the sunshine across the flowery meadows to cull a little nourishment. Puck looked after her and carefully meditated what might still be said. Then he observed thoughtfully, Well now, well, why not?